And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome, everyone, to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Sunday, November 9th, 2025. Once again, we have quite a few things to talk about in the Alaska weather-related headlines. First, the Panhandle storm that has impacted that area here Saturday night through this day. Sunday is going to be lifting out tonight. Already conditions are gradually improving. Still some heavier snow that'll begin to taper off in the far northern Panhandle, especially up there toward above Skagway to White Pass. The next Gulf low in front will bring some more rain, snow, and wind along the Panhandle there as we go through Monday, especially afternoon and evening. Very short break in between systems. And the coastal flood advisory has been extended for the Kuskokwim Delta coastline into at least the early morning of Monday. And the sun popped off a low-end X-class flare. X-class flares are the most intense. And this 1.8 X-class flare was Earth-directed, so it will be reaching us at some point November 11th or 12th. So that would be probably later Monday night into sometime during the day, Tuesday or Tuesday night, but certainly could initiate a decent display of the northern lights if you have clear skies. So looking at areas that have been impacted today across the state, getting up there along the lower Kuskokwim Delta, low overcast, breezy. There was a period of accumulating snow that fell in that region earlier. That has since let up, but going to get some more wind there overnight tonight, and high tide is around 3 a.m., so water levels could come up there a bit. I'll highlight that in a moment. Thompson Pass just is having a winter weather advisory for blowing snow come down, but there at Thompson Pass, windy and clear, 20 degrees. They've seen some wind gusts upwards of 60 miles an hour there. And then Chilkat, you can see the snow that has fallen, several inches of snow above Haines, and then we also have the area Skagway on up there toward the Canadian border. Some spots are going to end up with a foot or more of snow from this particular storm. Heidelberg still getting some rain. Actually, that shouldn't be Heidelberg. That should be Metlakatla. Metlakatla, some rain, low overcast, 53 degrees. Yellow Hill had a wind gust there above Metlakatla to 72 miles an hour with this particular front that came through. So we still have the winter storm warning for around White Pass until 6 p.m. this Sunday evening, so not much longer. As I said, most of the precipitation associated with the storm is lifting northeastward. Thompson Pass winter weather advisory will expire at 4 p.m. essentially by the time this video posts. And then out here along the southwest, the YK deltas, but here we have the coastal flood advisory for along the Kuskokwim coastline, especially Wilkillingock on over toward Kipnip. That area could see water levels 1 to 3 feet higher than the normal highest tide, with the high tide that's going to be coming in around 3 a.m. Monday morning. So aside from that, that's it for advisories. So the winter storm warning, as I mentioned, still in effect for above Skagway. In this area here around White Pass, could be looking at 12 to 18 inches of snow. And conditions will slowly improve as we go through this evening and later tonight. Then the coastal flood advisory has been extended. The area here, especially, as I mentioned, Wilkillingock on over toward Kittrick and even further north up to Toksook Bay, this area is going to see water levels 1 to 3 feet higher than the normal high tide. And that'll be in effect until 6 a.m. There could be some minor low coastal flooding there and some erosion. But as far as what we got here on the weather satellite imagery this afternoon, you can see the system quickly lifting northeastward up into northwest Canada. Was a view around Dawson City, getting a burst of snow as well as Whitehorse from this system. And then as we go back to the west, we have this other front that arcs along the Alaska Peninsula to the southwest coast and then back to the original low out here in the western part of the Bering. We've had a secondary low form here. That's the one that's going to be kind of just hanging around the Toland Strait and Kuskokwim Delta. That's why the coastal flood advisory was extended until 6 a.m. for Sunday morning. And then secondary low is forming here right now, southeast of Sand Point. That low is going to move up into the central Gulf Monday, later afternoon and evening, and that's going to force the next front up here along the northeastern Gulf Coast into the Panhandle the latter half of Monday night into early Tuesday for additional coastal rains, and then, of course, the coastal mountains getting, some snow. And this pattern is just going to kind of hold up here for the week. Here's the low late tonight, early on Monday morning. We have the other low sitting up there around Nunavik Island, and then another low back out toward the central Bering. As we go into Monday afternoon, here comes that next front. It's going to push up along the Panhandle coast, so it'll have with it some gusty winds, bring in another round of rain at lower elevations, coastal areas. But then as it comes up into the coastal mountains, you'll get snow there. This front will not be as strong as the one that just came through Saturday night and Sunday morning, so that's good news. But still, unsettled, stormy weather across the Gulf. And then here's that weak low along Tobin Strait, the south YK deltas. And then another little low that's heading, energy is heading off to the south and east. So Tuesday, that low will continue to weaken in the northern Gulf. We'll still have a weak low along the outer lower Yukon coastline. Then here comes the next frontal system crossing the Aleutians Tuesday into Wednesday, not especially strong. You'll see how it just kind of extends out and actually weakens. The gradient along it is not nearly as strong as the last one. And then we can see here that weakening low in the western Gulf off the Kenai coast, and another low out here toward Vancouver Island. It has a little more of a punch. That is going into Washington, Oregon State. So we're just seeing the low of the Gulf begin to settle down. So we'll have, I think, a little bit of a quieter period for a little bit. There are signs, though, there could be a very deep low come up across the central Aleutians around mid-month, right around November 14th, 15th. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if that actually happens. In the meantime, it just gets gradually colder across the mainland. Nighttime lows, single digits above and below zero, especially get up here around the Alaska Range and within the Copper River Basin, and certainly along the spine of the Brooks Range. We have lows still around or just above 40, southern Panhandle, Sitka down through Ketchikan and Craig. And then as we look to the west, readings stay above freezing as we trail out along the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians, lows generally upper 30s to near 40 degrees. Monday afternoon highs could still hit 50 around Pawak and Craig. Otherwise, temperatures right along the immediate Gulf Coast still managing to reach 40-ish or a little better. And then as we get inland, colder temperatures generally in the teens across much of the interior with single digits along the spine of the Brooks Range and teens again to near 20 along the Arctic coast, 40-ish at St. Paul, lower 40s as we go from around Falls Pass southwestward through the Aleutians. And Tuesday morning lows again, single digits above and below zero. So it's getting gradually colder there. Not a whole lot of weather. Again, keep your eyes peeled for the northern lights because if you have clear skies, you may be able to see something here starting Monday night or early Tuesday morning when that CME arrives. Will definitely enhance the potential for more active aurora display. Otherwise, lows Tuesday morning should generally still be above freezing in much of the Panhandle, that front pushing in with some more rain at sea level on lower elevations. And chilly back here through south central Anchorage, lows down in the upper teens near 20, depends if we get any low cloudiness or fog. Come in off of Cook Inlet, and then high temperatures Tuesday, still flirting with 50 down there around Heidelberg and Craig. Otherwise, 40s southern half of the Panhandle still can make 40-ish or so up there towards Skagway and Haines. Interior high, some high temperatures not only in the single digits along the Elkhorn border and up there along the southward facing slopes, Bettles on over toward Chugnuck, and those places may not get above 10 above. And you can see temperatures still 40, lower 40s, Kodiak City down through Falls Pass, Home Bay, and extending out along the Aleutians with 45, 46 degrees at ADAC. And here's the extended temperature outlook. One thing about the pattern we're going to be in. We're going to have low pressures coming up out of the North Pacific into the Bering. They'll have fronts that do not look like they're going to go really far north, way up toward the strait. They're going to tend to get pushed more elongated eastward. So the storm track's going to be coming up in the Bering and across the Aleutians and lower Alaska Peninsula, and then energy coming up again into the Gulf, not just from the far west, but at times coming up from the North Pacific more directly. But what this is indicating is that the best chance of above normal temperatures is going to be the southwest mainland, including the Alaska Peninsula, and especially trailing out here through the eastern central Aleutians. Temperatures may average a bit below normal over the Panhandle for a change here, and that's mid-month, November 15th through the 19th. and precipitation will likely be above normal, centered on the southern mainland, around Kenai Peninsula, Cookillet, including the YK Deltas, Bristol Bay, the Alaska Peninsula, and lesser so as you get further north and toward the northern panhandle. But right now it's looking like, yes, the potential exists that in this mix, there certainly could be a potential for some additional snowfall as we get there around mid-month and beyond, up through the 19th.